The next bit of news or not really news, but just kind of more of an opinion piece in my eyes that I feel like is worth discussing here, because the Bengals, man, I have a bit of an issue with what's going on there, and it doesn't seem like I'm alone in this, because I took some time before I decided to get into this conversation to kind of feel out what some Bengals fans are thinking right now. And there was a bit of news that happened yesterday that kind of puts Duke Tobin's foot in his mouth a bit, and it's only going to hurt the Bengals as they continue to kind of sit on their hands and watch some massive deals get made here. I want to take a step back and bring you all back to the Combine a few weeks ago so we can listen in onto what Duke Tobin had to say about paying Ja'Marr Chase. So let's have a listen here.
Going to be our priority. He's a fantastic football player. He's going to end up being the number one paid non-quarterback in the league. We're there. Let's get it done. The earlier we can do some of this stuff, the freer it gives us to build the rest of the team. We have other needs that we want to build, and so we want to get these kind of things done early enough to where we can really focus on building out the rest of the football team. But they're all priorities to us. But the ones that aren't signed are the ones that are on the table first.
So Duke Tobin basically saying that Ja'Marr Chase is a priority. They want to make him the highest non-paid quarterback, in the NFL. Well, since that statement was made just a few weeks ago, that number has only gone up, and it's gone up a few times now. You look at as recently as DK Metcalf's trade and sign last night, $33 million a year, which is good for third most in AAV as far as wide receivers are concerned right now. Justin Jefferson leading the way at, I believe, $35 million. And then, of course, we have this piece of news that came out yesterday, which compounded news that came out about Max Crosby signing extension a few days prior. But from Adam Schefter here, from trade to truce and beyond, the Browns and Myles Garrett reaching an agreement today on a record contract extension that averages $40 million. Yes, $40 million per year, and includes $123.5 million in guaranteed money, and now makes him the highest paid non-quarterback in NFL history. Let's just highlight that again. Highest paid non-QB in NFL history, sources tell ESPN. That is a bit of a problem if you ask me, because that means that if they're still planning on making Ja'Marr Chase the highest paid non-quarterback in the NFL, you've got to push past $40 million a year now. They had the opportunity to set up Ja'Marr Chase last offseason with something along the lines of like $35 million and $1 just for him to beat Justin Jefferson's contract that he was working with last year and still is at this current moment. But now you're in the situation of, well, you got to pay him $40+ million a year. Essentially, the Bengals are kind of losing this offseason, and they're not even really doing anything. And there's some other issues that I have with the way they've kind of been handling things, and I don't really understand it. Now, I get wanting to have Joe Burrow happy, but he's on a contract right now that's averaging $55 million a year at this current moment here. You are now setting yourself up to have to pay Ja'Marr Chase $40 and some change million a year, coupled with the fact that T. Higgins right now is currently stuck on a franchise tag that is averaging, $26 million on the year. That is just an AAV for 1 year alone of $121 million tied to just 3 players for this season here. Now, that's not the actual number for the cap number, but just to kind of lay out what we're potentially staring down should we see long-term extensions for Chase and T. Higgins come in during the next maybe few weeks or so of this offseason. Like, those are the numbers that this team is potentially going to be working with down the road in a year or two. And that is a ludicrously large amount of number for just 3 players on a roster that fields up to 46 players on game day and a total of 53 guys at any given moment during the season. And the other thing, you now have this situation with Trey Hendrickson as well, and this has been going on now for a few days. They have allowed him to seek a trade partner. They basically told him if you can find high-value compensation for your services, they'll be willing to deal him. The Bengals feel like they are overly investing in the offense at the at the expense of a defense that I don't really know who they're going to be able to field, as they just throw every single dollar and then some at the offensive side of the football. Their goal was to pay Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, and Trey Hendrickson this offseason, but the numbers have just continued to climb with what happened with Max Crosby just a few days ago, and now Myles Garrett here. It's only going to make this more and more difficult each and every day that goes by, and I genuinely can't believe that this hasn't been resolved yet. If Duke Tobin's saying what he's saying at the NFL Combine weeks ago, and he even says we're there, how did you not already get Jamar Chase locked up on that 35 or maybe let's say $36 million, whatever it may be? It's not like anyone was going to, besides Jamar Chase, was going to get paid more money than what Justin Jefferson is currently making at this moment in time. He is, in a lot of people's eyes, the best wide receiver in the NFL. The next argument would be Jamar Chase. So those are the two top dudes. Those are the two top guys that were going to be making the most money. It's not like the Bengals were foreseeing the Browns paying Myles Garrett $40 million a year. We got a written statement from Myles Garrett saying he wanted out a few weeks back at the end after the season wrapped up. So it's like, the mismanagement is really killing me. And I've got to stress, I'm not like a Bengals hater. I don't hate Cincinnati. I don't want to see Cincinnati fail. I actually like Cincinnati. I'm a fan of Joe Burrows. I love his game. I love the setup they have with Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. And it's this really fun kind of situation of just like offense. But listen, as I've got something in my eye here, my biggest concern right now is that they're trying to pay all these guys money, and there's going to be nothing left for the defense. You can't pay Trey Hendrickson anymore. And at this point in time, how are you going to field a football team that's going to actively be competitive in the best years of Joe Burrow's career right now at his current age? Like, this is the time to compete, and he's in his prime. I really wish that Cincinnati would figure this out and hurry up and get these guys paid and just get the big key pieces to their franchise situated, because I'm genuinely worried that this is a team that is going to go into the 2025 NFL season and they're going to have to score no less than 40 points a game if they want to win. They're set to let some guys go on defense. They're losing guys on defense, and how are you going to make this work if all of your money is tied up to a quarterback and two wide receivers, or almost half, like $121 million in AAV for 3 contracts? That's like, what is that? It's a little bit more than a third, but a little less than half of the actual money that you are allowed to pay players under the cap. And I understand, the cap is kind of crap, but it doesn't make sense to me, because there's clearly an unwillingness to pay everybody from Cincinnati's end, with now Trey Hendrickson being allowed to figure out if there's anywhere else he can end up going. There doesn't really feel like there's any light at the end of the tunnel, and I don't want that for Cincinnati. I genuinely do not want that. So we'll see where they go here, but I'm a little bit concerned about the direction things are heading.